There is a lie you've been told about Las Vegas, a brilliant and carefully polished lie that is repeated in every Hollywood movie and every travel guide. You've been told that the house always wins because the math is invincible. You've been told that you can't fight statistics, that big casinos are impregnable fortresses of algorithms and surveillance. But you were wrong. The casino is not a perfect machine. The casino is a living organism, and like every living organism, it has an immune system. And sometimes that immune system attacks the body itself. The weakest point of a casino isn't the software, nor the safes, nor the cameras. The weakest point has a first name, a last name, back problems, and wears a cheap black vest. I'm talking about the dealer. When you sit at a high-limit blackjack table, you aren't playing against a billion-dollar corporation. You are playing against the hands of a human being earning minimum wage plus tips. Those hands deal thousands of cards a night. They are the highest-paid illusionists in the world, yet no one treats them like artists. To you, the dealer is part of the furniture, a flesh-and-blood robot that says no more bets and takes away your chips. But what happens when the robot has a memory? What happens when the person controlling the flow of money decides that, for just one night, the house is going to bleed? This is the story of Marco. And it's not a story about card counting, nor about electronic devices hidden in a shoe. It is the story of a man with hands so fast that high-speed cameras look like slow motion next to him. A man who executed the most elegant scam in the history of the Strip, stealing $10 million while his bosses looked him straight in the eye, and who, in the end, forced the casino to thank him for it. To understand the heist, first you have to understand the man. Marco wasn't just any dealer. He had been at the Emperor's Palace for 30 years. He was a relic, a silent legend among the night shift staff. They called him the metronome. He never missed, ever. His rhythm was hypnotic. He could calculate 3 to 2 payouts in fractions of a second and cut a 6-deck shoe exactly in half without looking. His fingers had no fingerprints left. They had been erased after 3 decades of grazing against felt and cards. But the Emperor's Palace was no longer the elegant place of the 90s. It had been bought by an aggressive investment conglomerate. New management had arrived, obsessed with profit margins and brutal efficiency, and the face of that new management was Mr. Vance. Vance was a 32-year-old executive with a suit that was too tight and a smile that was too white. He hated the old employees. He said old dealers were expensive, slow, and a labor liability. Vance had a dream, a casino without humans. He wanted to fill the floor with electronic tables, touch screens, and virtual dealers. No unions, no bathroom breaks, no salaries. One Tuesday afternoon, 2 weeks before Christmas, Vance called Marco into his glass office. Marco walked in, his uniform impeccable. Vance didn't even look up from his iPad. "Marco, you're out," he said. Just like that. 30 years of loyalty erased with 3 words. Marco blinked, confused. "Excuse me, Mr. Vance?" "Forced early retirement," Vance replied, chewing nicotine gum. "Your hands per hour rate has dropped 2% this quarter. You are inefficient. Besides, we found a clause in your original 1994 contract that allows us to void your pension bonus if we fire you for underperformance. You have 2 weeks. The silence in the office was tomb-like. Vance had just stolen Marco's future. He was taking away the pension he had worked for his entire life, claiming he was slow when Marco was the fastest hand in Nevada. It was an insult to the artist. It was a declaration of war. Marco didn't scream. He didn't slam the table. He simply nodded, with the calm of someone who has watched men lose their houses on a poker hand without blinking. "All right, Mr. Vance," Marco said softly. "I understand. I just ask one thing. Let me work the night shift in the high-limit room this last weekend. I want to say goodbye to my regulars. It's a matter of honor." Vance let out a dry laugh. "You want to work the most stressful shift for free before you leave? Go ahead. Do whatever you want, Grandpa. Just try not to die on the table and stain the carpet." That was the mistake that would cost Vance $10 million, underestimating the pride of a professional. Marco went home, but not to sleep. He went down to his basement. There, under a dim light, he had a professional blackjack table. He stood in front of the mirror and started practicing. For the next 48 hours, his hands bled. He didn't practice dealing, he practiced shuffling. You see, in modern casinos, regular tables use automatic shuffling machines to prevent cheating and speed up the game. But in high-limit rooms, where the minimum bet is $10,000, players are superstitious. They hate machines. They want to see the human. They want to see the cards mixing. They demand the hand shuffle. And that is the only crack in the casino's armor. There is a forbidden technique, a myth among cheats, called the false riffle. It consists of making the classic move of interlacing the two halves of the deck. The cards seem to cross, but it is an optical and auditory illusion. The packets of cards simply pass through each other without changing their order. If you do it wrong, it shows, and you go to jail. If you do it perfectly, it is invisible even to 4K cameras. Marco spent 2 nights perfecting the move until his hands moved faster than the human eye. But he needed a partner. A dealer can't steal alone. He needs someone to collect the money. Marco called the professor. The professor wasn't an academic, but a former advantage player, a math genius who had fallen from grace and now lived in a cheap motel. Marco had saved his life once, stopping loan sharks from breaking his legs. The professor owed him everything. "I need you to get $500,000, Marco told him over the phone. "Sell whatever you have. Borrow, steal if you have to. Bring me $500,000 on Saturday at 11, and I promise you'll walk out of there with enough money to buy your own island." Saturday night, the Emperor's Palace. The air is cold and smells of ambition. Marco is at table 1. His posture is rigid, military. The eye in the sky, the surveillance team, monitors him. But the guards are bored. It's Marco. That guy's harmless. The professor walks in. He's wearing a tuxedo that smells of mothballs, but his attitude is pure arrogance. He sits opposite Marco. He is the only player in the private room. He throws a gym bag onto the green felt. "Change it all," he says. The pit boss counts the money. $500,000. Vance, the hateful boss, watches from the upper railing with a glass of champagne. He is salivating. He sees a foolish old man playing against the house. He thinks the Christmas bonus is already paid. The game begins. For the first hour, nothing happens. Marco shuffles for real. The game is honest. The professor loses $70,000. This is vital. In any big con, you first have to let the victim gain confidence. You have to let them relax. Vance smiles from the balcony. That useless old man is at least good for fleecing a tourist, he thinks. Then, the clock strikes 12:30, the critical moment. Marco gathers the 6 decks to shuffle. The shoe is a tower of disordered cards. Marco glances fleetingly at the ceiling camera. He takes a deep breath, and his hands explode into motion. He splits the deck, joins the halves, cuts. To anyone's eyes, he has shuffled. To the camera's eyes, he has shuffled. But reality is different. Marco has executed the false riffle, keeping a block of 30 cards, a slug, in a predetermined order that he memorized and prepared during the previous cut. Marco subtly touches his wedding ring. The signal. The professor changes his demeanor. He pushes towers of chips to the center. He bets the maximum allowed, $50,000 per hand, and he plays 3 simultaneous hands, $150,000 at risk in a single turn. The pit boss approaches, nervous. "Sir, are you sure?" "Deal," says the professor. "Deal," says Marco. The speed is blinding. Hand 1, ace of spades, king of hearts, blackjack. Hand 2, ace of clubs, jack of diamonds, blackjack. Hand 3, 2 tens, 20. Marco shows his up card, a 6. He lifts the second, a king, 16. He is forced to hit. He draws a 5, 21. Wait, no. Marco draws a 10. He busts, 26. The house loses everything. In 40 seconds, the casino has lost $225,000. Vance drops his glass. The sound of breaking glass alerts security. "Watch that table," he yells into his headset. "Now!" The night turns into a hunt. The professor keeps playing and keeps winning. He doesn't win every hand, that would be suspicious, but he wins all the big hands. When he bets the minimum, he loses. When he bets the maximum, he is invincible. It seems like witchcraft. It seems like he can see through the backs of the cards. But it isn't magic, it's memory. Marco is serving him the cards in the exact order the professor studied that afternoon. 1 in the morning, $4 million in profit. Vance runs down to the floor, his face red with rage. "Stop the game," he howls. "Deck change, those cards are marked. Bring factory-fresh cards right now."
It is a desperate measure. They think the problem is physical, that someone has marked the cards with invisible ink or lasers. They bring 8 new decks sealed in plastic. The pit boss opens them in front of everyone. They check them. They are pristine. "Shuffle, Marco," Vance orders, breathing heavily, "and do it slowly. Let me see you." Here is where anyone else would have given up, but Marco is not anyone else. Marco takes the new decks. He spreads them on the table to do the wash, mixing the cards face down in circles. And while his hands spin in the chaos of cards, Marco does something bordering on the impossible. While gathering the cards, he interlaces high and low cards. One high, one low, one high, 2 lows. He does it by touch at breakneck speed. It is a technique called stacking on the fly. Vance watches, security watches, the cameras watch. No one sees anything but an old man shuffling. The game resumes. The professor bets everything. 6 million on the table, 7 million, 8 million. The casino is bleeding money at a rate that would make an accountant weep. At 2:15 in the morning, the professor's chip counter hits $10 million. Vance is on the verge of a heart attack. His career is over if he doesn't stop this. He makes a signal. Subtlety is over. 4 security guards, guys the size of vending machines, surround the table. "It's over," says Vance, trembling. "Close the table. Take them to the back room. Nobody makes a fool of me." Marco drops the last card delicately. He dusts off his hands. He looks Vance in the eye and gives him a sad smile, the executioner smile. The back room is a myth in Las Vegas, but it exists. A gray, windowless, soundproof room. Marco and the professor are sitting on metal chairs bolted to the floor. Across from them, Vance, the head of security, and 2 corporate lawyers who arrived in their pajamas. The atmosphere is pure, contained violence. "We know you cheated," Vance spits. "I don't know how. I don't know if you used magnets, mirrors, or if you're damn David Copperfield, but I know nobody wins 10 million in a row against the house edge." "We are going to confiscate the money," the lawyer intervenes, "and we are going to call the state police. Grand fraud. You are going to die in prison."
The professor is pale. He looks at Marco, seeking an exit. But Marco is calm. He leans back in the chair. "Mr. Vance," Marco says with a calm voice, "have you reviewed the security footage? You have 4K cameras, right? Slow motion?" "We've watched them 20 times, shouts the head of security. "We analyzed you frame by frame." "And what did you see?" asks Marco. "Did you see me mark the cards? Did you see me hide cards at my sleeve?" "No," screams Vance, falling into the trap. "We saw that you didn't shuffle. Your hands moved, but the cards didn't change order. You manipulated the shuffle." Silence. A thick, heavy silence. Marco leans forward. The moment for checkmate has arrived. "Interesting," Marco whispers. "So according to you, your state-of-the-art cameras recorded how I, a casino employee, controlled the exact order of the cards, and no one from the security team stopped the game." Vance frowns. "So what?" "So that," Marco continues, "means that you are admitting, in front of witnesses and lawyers, that the game of blackjack in your casino is not random. You are admitting that a human dealer has the physical ability to decide which cards come out and which don't. The lawyers stiffen instantly. They understand what Marco is saying. Vance, in his stupidity, doesn't see it yet. "Of course you did," Vance insists. "Mr. Vance," says Marco, hardening his voice, "the Nevada Gaming Commission has a sacred rule. The game must be pure chance. If you formally accuse me of controlling the cards without using external devices, just with my hands, you are admitting that the Emperor's Palace offers a riggable game. If we go to trial, I will demonstrate to the jury, to the press, and to the commission that your dealers can stack the deck so customers lose whenever the house wants. If that comes out, if word gets out that blackjack isn't chance but dealer's skill, you will lose your gaming license tomorrow. Your stock will drop to zero. You will lose billions of dollars." Marco puts his employee ID on the metal table. "So, here is your dilemma. Option A, you arrest me. I go to jail for a couple of years, yes, but you close forever. I will make sure every news channel in the world knows the game is rigged by the house."
Option B. You admit that the mathematical edge failed tonight, admit it was luck, pay the $10 million to my friend, and I sign my voluntary resignation right now along with a lifetime non-disclosure agreement. I will never say how I did it. Vance looks at the lawyers. He is deathly pale. The lawyers shake their heads slowly. They can't risk it. The scandal would destroy the brand. They have been defeated by their own bureaucracy and greed. It is the perfect crime, using the casino's laws against the casino itself. Vance, hands shaking with impotence, signs the payment authorization. "Get out," he whispers with tears of rage in his eyes. "And if I ever see your face in this town again, I'll kill you." "Don't worry," says Marco, standing up and smoothing his vest one last time. "I have nothing left to do here." Dawn breaks over Las Vegas. The sky is that burnt orange color, dirty and beautiful at the same time. Marco and the professor walk out the employee entrance. The professor clutches the check to his chest, hugging it like a newborn baby. "How did you know?" asked the professor, his voice cracking. "How did you know they wouldn't call the police?" Marco takes off his black bow tie. He looks at it for a second and throws it into a street trash can. "Because a casino is like a con artist, my friend, and rule number 1 of con artists is that they never, ever call the police when another con artist robs them." They split the money, $5 million each. Marco paid off his daughter's house, settled his debts, and bought a small house facing the ocean, in a place where there are no neon lights and no slot machine noises. Mr. Vance was fired 3 months later when the quarterly audit revealed the $10 million hole. No one knows where he is now. But if you go to the Emperor's Palace today, look closely. Enter the high limit room. You will see something strange. There are no longer human dealers shuffling by hand. They have installed armored machines on every table, even the most expensive ones. Players complain. They say it has no charm, but the casino doesn't yield. They say it's for efficiency. But those of us who have been in this game for years know the truth. It's out of fear. Fear that somewhere there is another Marco practicing in a basement. Fear of human hands. So remember this the next time you walk into a casino and see the dealer shuffle the cards in front of you. Don't look at the cards. Don't look at the chips. Look at their eyes and ask yourself, is it a robot or is it someone waiting for the perfect moment to wake up? If you liked this story of how the invisible employee defeated the corporate giant, hit like and subscribe right now, because in the next video, we are going to up the ante. See you there.